It was late at night when I was driving home. The road was quiet, almost empty. Streetlights stretched in a long yellow line ahead of me. I wasn't thinking about anything important, just the usual thoughts that fill a tired mind after a long day. And then I saw him. At first, I thought it was a pile of rags lying near the edge of the road. But something about the shape made me slow down. It was too still. Too small. As my headlights illuminated the figure more clearly, I realized it was a puppy. He was lying there alone. Motionless. Thin. Curled into himself as if trying to disappear. I stopped the car. There are moments in life when you can choose to keep driving. No one would blame you. It's late. It's dark. It's inconvenient. But something in me refused to move forward. I stepped out of the car slowly. The air was cold. The night was silent. I approached carefully, not wanting to scare him. When I got closer, I saw how fragile he looked. His ribs were visible. His fur was dusty. His body looked as if it had been drained of energy. I knelt down a few feet away. "Hey," I whispered. To my surprise, he moved. Slowly. He lifted his head. Then, with visible effort, he pushed himself up and began walking toward me. Not running. Not barking. Just walking slowly, unsteadily, like someone who had nothing left but hope. His eyes were tired, but they were not empty. That look. I will never forget it. It wasn't just hunger. It wasn't just fear. It was abandonment. He came close enough to touch. I crouched down and gently placed my hand near his face. He didn't flinch. He didn't retreat. He leaned slightly forward. That small movement felt like trust. I quickly grabbed the small food container I kept in the car. It wasn't much, just some simple snacks I carried for long drives. I placed the food in front of him. He ate slowly at first. Then faster. Not aggressively, just desperately. As he ate, I took out a blanket from my back seat. The night air was getting colder, and his body was trembling lightly. I wrapped the blanket gently around him. He didn't resist. He simply stood there, letting himself be held. I lifted him carefully and carried him to the car. He was lighter than he should have been. Too light for a living creature. As I placed him on the passenger seat, wrapped in warmth, he looked up at me once more. I closed the door and started driving home. That night, I didn't just bring home a puppy. I brought home a life that had almost given up. At home, the change was immediate. The moment he realized food was not temporary, something shifted inside him. I placed a proper bowl in front of him. Clean water. Warm food. He ate as if he couldn't believe it was real. After he finished, something unexpected happened. He started playing. Not wildly. Not energetically at first. But gently tapping at the corner of a pillow, wagging his tail hesitantly. It was as if his body had been waiting for permission to feel joy again. Within days, his strength began returning. His eyes became brighter. His steps became steadier. And then came the happiest chapter. Once he regained his strength, he transformed completely. The timid, starving puppy from the roadside became a curious, joyful little companion. Every morning, he would wait by the door as if ready to greet the world. When I stepped outside, he followed closely behind, his small paws tapping eagerly against the ground. I began taking him everywhere I could. We walked through quiet temple courtyards where the air felt peaceful and still. He would sniff the stone paths, his tail wagging with quiet curiosity. Sometimes he would sit beside me as I rested on a bench, looking around as if amazed that the world could feel this calm. We walked through streets filled with soft evening lights. He trotted beside me proudly, no longer weak, no longer forgotten. Children smiled at him. Strangers paused to pet him. The same kind of world that once ignored him now noticed him. He loved open spaces. When we visited parks, he would run small circles around me, as if testing the strength of his own legs, celebrating that they could carry him freely. There was something deeply moving about watching him discover joy. He didn't play like a dog who had always known comfort. He played like someone who understood loss. Every toy mattered. Every walk felt important. Every gentle touch seemed appreciated. I decided to build him a small wooden house in the yard. Not just a shelter but a home. I chose solid wood, sanded the edges carefully, and placed soft bedding inside. When I first showed it to him, he walked around it curiously before stepping inside. He turned around once, twice. Then lay down comfortably. It was his space. His safety. His belonging. Soon, a neighbor's dog began visiting frequently. The two became fast friends. They would run together, bark playfully, and sometimes compete over a large bone I gave them. Watching them share, sometimes tugging at the same bone, sometimes lying side by side chewing peacefully, brought a quiet kind of happiness. It was ordinary. But it was everything. There is something powerful about witnessing recovery. Not just physical recovery but emotional healing. He no longer looked at passing cars with fear. He no longer flinched at sudden movements. Instead, he greeted life openly. And in doing so, he reminded me of something important. Rescue is not just about saving a body. It is about restoring dignity. When I found him that night, he was not just hungry. He was unseen. He was a life left behind. And sometimes, what a soul needs most is not dramatic heroism. It is recognition. To be seen. To be chosen. To be brought home. Today, when he lies peacefully in his wooden house or runs happily beside his friend, it is hard to imagine that he once lay abandoned on cold asphalt. But I remember. And that memory keeps me humble. Because I know how close he was to disappearing quietly into the night. That road would have remained silent. Cars would have continued driving. Life would have gone on. Except for one small soul. The difference between that outcome and this one was simple. I stopped. Sometimes compassion is not loud. Sometimes it is just a car pulling over in the dark. And sometimes that is enough to save a life.